Let's queer up out South Florida. Wilton Manors takes two big steps to reassure the LGBTQ+ community. The city, often called the gayest place on planet Earth, is living up to its reputation. First, city commissioners voted to declare Wilton Manors a sanctuary city. While largely symbolic, it is an official statement that, essentially, rebukes Governor DeSantis and his fascist enablers in Tallahassee. And it says we reject and are not complicit in their hateful anti-LGBTQ+ agenda. The second action is much more tangible. Wilton Police launched a safe space program. Businesses can display a rainbow shield decal, letting people know that victims of hate crimes can come in and safely wait for police to arrive. These actions are urgently needed. Hate crimes and threats against the community are at an all-time high. Just last week, Sunshine Cathedral was vandalized. This time, it was eggs. Next time, who knows? These threats are changing our behavior. Over the weekend, I saw an abandoned backpack on a bench by Alibi Plaza, the heart of Wilton Drive. Just a few years ago, it likely wouldn't have caught my eye. But we are in the age of see something, say something. I called non-emergency dispatch and an officer came out, inspected it, and cleared the scene. We cannot be too careful. Wilton Manors is leading the way. You can read more about both initiatives in this week's Out South Florida. And Al, I found the backpack, I saw it, and I called police, and you happened to be following me about 10 minutes later. And you saw it. And I was torn at first whether I should call it, but I was like, if I don't, and something happens, what do I do? And I've talked with Chief Blocker, not about this incident specifically, but he said, see something, say something. Officers are not going to get mad if you're calling in things that could possibly be a real threat.
I think that goes full circle back to see something, say something. With your experience earlier on the show when we were talking about what happened for you at work, you didn't stop there. You didn't just kind of like quietly go away, just like you didn't quietly walk away. And I think it was really good that you actually spoke up and said something, because now we actually can start setting a precedent, whether it's in the workplace or in the community, as it relates to being able to work to protect our own respective spaces.
Yeah, and talking about protection, I mean, you know, those stickers, they're so important. They're not just stickers. You know what I mean? Like,
I want one.
I want one too. I'm just gonna slap one in my head. I'm a safe space for anybody. I'm a safe space. No, but you know, I have a question for you, Al? With the teachers that had their special after-school programs had to take down their safe space stickers. Okay, they weren't allowed anymore. This is okay to do.
It absolutely is okay, because it's not in an educational setting. It would violate the First Amendment rights of not only the city, but also the individual businesses that are doing it. The police department saying that we're participating in it. It is basically unimaginable that the governor or the radical supermajority of the GOP would pass a law to say that you can't say this, because it would be a free speech violation. So they can't do that.
Well, there is a lot. Also, one of my other hats is in the teaching world with kids. And that designation by Wilton Manors would make me feel much more comfortable in a school situation where there's that kind of gray area, like, is this DeSantis administration going to, or somebody, all it takes is one parent to report. But when you have a city that's saying we're standing in solidarity with you, that you know that you can take that story to the news organizations, the media outlets, and they will put that story up to support you. And that makes a huge difference as to, you know, what things you might say or not say inside your classroom.
You know, it's an interesting point, and I think, I just want to say, you know, I think John largely gets this story right. The fact that Wilton Manors declares itself a sanctuary city is largely symbolic. But symbolism matters. Representation matters. What you say you represent matters. And that's what the city of Wilton Manors is doing. So while it is symbolism, it leads to all kinds of other things that will have tangible effect. I keep making the suggestion that we've watched over the last 2 years of Governor DeSantis this pendulum swing worse and worse and worse. But we're beginning to see a slowdown of the pendulum, and we're going to see the pendulum start to swing back to some centric center kind of position. And that's going to be true in schools. That's going to be true in attitudes toward LGBT. That's going to be towards drag performance and these radical kinds of things, that this pendulum that the governor is sweeping. He's going to lick his wounds and come back to Florida because he's getting his ass kicked nationally. Literally, he's getting his ass kicked. His presidential hopes are over, in my opinion. Donald Trump has kicked his ass. He is done in this election cycle. Now, he's not going to go away, but he's going to come back to Florida and lick his wounds and regroup. But in the meantime, this pendulum is going to swing back. And when the city of Wilton Manors makes this step, they are verbalizing to the press and to NBC and ABC and all of these other people, we're not going to take it anymore. And that's what this symbolism does. One last thing that I think is great about John's second part of his story is we must rely on our allies. We must. The LGBTQ community must reach out to our allies. Now, that may be city governments. It happens that our city government in Wilton Manors is very significantly LGBT. But our police chief is not. Most of our police officers in Wilton Manors and in Fort Lauderdale, etc., are not. We need them to advocate, safe space. And I love this story from the standpoint that the police department, the police chief, the police officers are saying, we're helping with these stickers. And if you have issues or fear, this is where you go, because we'll go there and help in whatever is being resolved. That helps pull the pendulum back.
Especially with the relationship that we've had with the police. That to me is huge that they're a part of this.
It's huge in terms of this pendulum swinging back. We thank our police department in Wilton Manors and especially our police chief and really the entire city of Wilton Manors. They don't have to do this. Symbolism matters.
Yeah,
it does.
As a person of color, I feel even safer going out in Wilton Manors, right? Not just because of the fact that I identify with the LGBT community, but I'm a black man. Black man in police.
Wait, you're black?
Right.
Get out.
I just want to point out something that I just saw in Faye. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Faye had done Miss Florida or the JFOI event or whatever, and Faye did a TikTok or some video where you're walking down the street and the person's in the window at Mythos. And I watched that, and it was cute.
Thank you.
And it was interesting. 60 seconds, it's like, oh, God, this is how you go down the rabbit hole of watching these kind of videos. But what was so fascinating to me of that is Faye starts at one block on Wilton Drive and starts to walk. And you see the businesses. And I'm looking at this and going, this woman is walking down a metropolitan street in South Florida, and you have no fear at all. Wait, what might happen? It is complete. I'm just loving this. And then she makes the joke of showing the picture through the window of Mythos Gastro Bar. Watch the video so you find out what Faye showed you. But at the end of the day, that's a representation of this entire block is a safe space. What you just said, you can be safe in Wilton Manors. Watch this girl walk down the street and prove it to you. I loved that video because of that.